Auth66. 66, the last day. What an interesting journey. I thought maybe I should plan out my last video with some great detail, and then I was like, nah, there's no sense in that. But I do know that I want to talk about what I have reflected on in this journey. One, anybody who's taken time to watch me ramble, say things in more words than were necessary, rant maybe, although I've been told, as Barb says, I'm spicier in person. I would agree with that. I try to be professional on LinkedIn, somewhat. Thank you for going on this journey with me. Whether you just liked the video without watching it, whether you took the transcript and put it into ChatGPT and looked the summary of the video, or whether you watch me make every ridiculous face known to man and use my hands way too many times, whatever. If you've also sent me a message to say what you've gotten out of it, or that you did get something out of it, thank you for watching. It won't be like the last time I made content, obviously. I was doing that in written form long before I started making videos, but I will say that this journey has made me a little bit more comfortable with staring at my face while I talk to the camera. Anybody who's ever worked with me professionally knows I really hate being on camera. It's something that I actively avoid if we have a meeting. So if there was a way to turn it on for other people but then not have to look at it myself, that would be also great. But this has kind of forced me to get comfortable with that, or maybe not like fully comfortable, but acclimatized to it's just going to happen, it's just going to be a thing. Also to other people who don't know me, who have no context of who I am, getting to hear me ramble, that's a little scary, because most times when people hear that, they've already gotten to know me on some form or level. My rambles can be in 7 different directions because that's the way my brain works. And I really wanted to make sure to kind of keep that for these videos, because they're supposed to highlight who you are authentically, and that's definitely me. I think too, just having to think through how I'm going to articulate what I'm going to say and have people walk away with something that, is, I wouldn't call it actionable. That's probably the wrong way, but at least a nugget of something they can take away. I've got so many sticky notes that are all over my desk from me just throwing down, I want to make sure I say something about these 3 things from different videos. And I think those sticky notes are going to make it into like a little book of stuff that I keep for myself. I've got something that I've made for us internally here before. It's called the Leadership Playbook. And it's, well, that's what Brian calls it actually, but mine was like, I can't remember. Anyway, the point is it's like a handbook for leadership of how we want you to approach leadership if you have a management position or you're leading a team, whatever the case may be here internally. And I think I'm going to go through and make sure that all the things that I have on sticky notes are in that playbook, because there's so many times where I've reflected on or made videos based on what was going on here at the office, or things that were happening in my personal life, or stories that I was sharing with friends where we were not commiserating but kind of comparing notes about how we would approach things, or inspired by what was topically going on in the world at the time. And that's the kind of thing about leadership, is that like you can read books, you can have a playbook, you can have a plan, but it's really what you do in those moments. It's really the way you ramble, the way that you take things on when it's a clutch time. And, I feel like that's something that you kind of have to build. It's like what I say, like athletes do muscle memory, right? Like they practice the same thing over and over again. And even if they've got it, because in the moment when the pressure's on, they want to know, bam, it's going to do what it's supposed to do. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. I'm the best version of myself that I can be, so I can respond to whatever stress, pressure, or whatever that comes up. And that's kind of how I approach leadership training. But these little nuggets don't always make it in when I sit down and I write something like that. So I want to make sure to include them because they're important. They're important to build that muscle memory of what's going on in the moment. The little things that you can't teach somebody, just in a book. It's got to be lived through. Or if you're going to teach them from a book, you got to do what some of the best business book writers do, which is make it real by telling a story. So, I mean, that's kind of one of the things that I'm taking away. Somebody asked me, like, why are you doing this challenge? Like, it's kind of a lot. And it is, but I think, it's what you make of it. It's what you look to take from it. That's true for anything in life, really. We each bring our own excitement, passion, drive to things, and a lot of opportunities are really going to be whatever you make of it. So for me, that's one of the things I'm taking away from that. Getting to have more conversations where I get to meet people and share my ideas without them necessarily knowing anything about me ahead of time, and being able to impart the things that I think are important, both from being an MSP / a leader / in operations, and the things that needs to be kind of focused on. And I don't see myself stopping some of those contents. Now, will I be happy that I don't necessarily have to do one every single day? I mean, yeah. Am I happy that throughout this journey that I missed some days, or I feel like maybe I don't want to say failed, but probably by the measure of how it was originally written, failed? No, I don't love that. But I think the reality with life is that sometimes things are always going to happen to get in your way, and you get to decide as a person whether or not you stay committed. And commitment doesn't always mean perfection. Commitment means that, when the chips fall and, the tower comes down or whatever, are you going to go and rebuild? Are you going to go and start again? Or are you going to recommit? Because that's the name of the game, honestly. If you're going to be in any kind of business, in a leadership position and or as an owner, you have to show up every day. And when the days that you don't show up, you have to trust that you built your team as strong as you can. And then when everything still falls apart, you have to be the one to go in and say, okay, guys, we're doing it. We're going to get together and we're going to rebuild. That's part of the challenge and the beauty and, all the good things. I have made jokes throughout this whole process that I've let YouTube be the driver of whatever thumbnails are going to be. And or I guess when I post it to LinkedIn. I'm hoping today's has an interesting thumbnail because I've been working on a collage. It'll be posted in the comments, probably not right away, but eventually. So you could see how many times that I got caught out making ridiculous faces because it'll just pull a snapshot. And, well, for me, it feels authentic to do that. I think the reality is any one of us, when we're doing a talk, when we're, being recorded, we could find a ridiculous frame. I mean, look at Beyonce, she's gorgeous, and I still got that one frame of her that goes around saying, like, comparison of reality versus what happens in a second. So I feel like it's just another acknowledgement that we all have parts that are not perfect, not the highlight reel, not, the exact template of what you would like people to see of yourself. But that's okay, because the more we put reality, the more that we put authenticity out there, the mistakes, whatever, the more that people feel like they might be able to engage because they don't also have to meet perfection. So if you've watched any part of this and seen me fumble, I hope you're not celebrating that fumble. I hope you are celebrating that I do it anyway, despite the fumbles, and that inspires you to do the same. That would be my greatest hope for this. Is maybe it's not an Auth66 challenge, maybe it's something else that you take on, but you do it anyway, even if you're afraid of failing, even if you're scared, because there's so much worth in tackling those things. We grow as people and get better, and the world around us is better for us being transparent about that too. And for that is how I'm going to end this Auth66 challenge. Thank you again for coming on this journey for me. It's not goodbye, but it's goodbye every single day.